Good morning, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, I guess, for those of you on the East Coast and elsewhere. I am just waiting for JoEllen, our guest, my guest today. I don't know why I'm talking in plural, my guest. But I guess it could be your guest too. Okay. Yeah, welcome. I'll just wait a couple minutes. I do want to put this little banner up here so that we have this. Let me double check that there aren't any technical issues on JoEllen's side for this call. I have some incense burning and a window open. I'm just noticing like it's going to smoke me out here. All right, let's see. No, I don't notice any messages saying having difficulty. Let's see. Let's try. Ta-da, I'm back. Okay, I see I have one person watching. Welcome. I'm still waiting for my guest to pop in. I'm using a new software application to do these visits, these chats, and I'm hoping there are no problems with it. But yeah, the banner at the bottom there says, text us where you're from. Let me know if, one, you can hear me as well, because I'm not sure if y'all can hear me. I think I had everything set up okay. Hopefully the microphone can pick me up. Let's see. Okay, I just sent the link again. Okay. She's in, but she's in a different link, it seems. So, you know, the thing I think is interesting, I'm fine doing podcasts and talking to people on the phone and talking to people, talking to people one-on-one. But for whatever reason, for me, video feels weird because there's nobody to talk to. I'm like talking to this little green dot, but I like interacting with people more, and it has taken a pandemic to kind of get me over this fear of that little green dot, I guess. I don't know if anyone else is noticing the same. That's for sure something that has come up for me. Okay, let's see. Okay. I'm recording, Ragnar. I'm recording. I could hear you telling Joe to wake up, get dressed. Yeah, okay, fair enough. It's 11 o'clock here in California. Hey, Hetty. Yeah, you could hear Ragnar in the background telling my youngest to actually get out of bed. This is actually an ongoing discussion that we've been having because it's a quarantine and because she's a teenager. As long as she's getting her schoolwork done, I don't have a problem with her getting up whenever. It just doesn't bother me. But he's German. I don't know if that factors into it at all, but it is hysterical that he's in the background. Hey, Joe, get up. Blah, 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 blah. But yeah, he has a very, very strong opinion about what time the kids should get up and be up and ready and all that jazz. And I'm way more lax. I don't think my mom would have been lax, though. I used to be a, hey.
Hey.
Hello. How are you?
Good. Sorry I'm late. Apparently last week the link came to me fine, but this week it was in spam.
No worries. Yeah, I could never tell with, I'm sure you've experienced this too, with sex in the signature.
Yeah.
It ends up in junk mail all the time.
All the time.
How are you? Oh my gosh, it's so good to see you and to talk to you.
I'm okay, I guess. Yeah. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good now that I have somebody to actually talk to. I was just sort of rambling before you came on to the camera. I was like talking to this little green dot about how it's taken a pandemic for me to actually kind of get comfort. Notice I put kind of in there to kind of get comfortable with talking to the screen.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I've been struggling really hard with it because I've been in a bad depressive episode for like over 2 years. And it has changed what I look like physically.
Yeah.
And so I think for a long time I was just avoiding looking at that. And then this happened and everybody is online and on video. And like I have to do my therapy sessions via Zoom. And so it's just seeing myself all the time.
Yeah.
It's bizarre.
Yeah, I read somewhere recently that they're now saying that being on video is even more draining because you're constantly, oriented to peek at your image instead of the other images on there.
Yeah.
I get it. Yeah. So welcome. Okay. So this is being recorded first of all, it's live on Facebook and YouTube. Okay. But it's going to be saved on YouTube as well. And I just wanted to invite you in and find out more about your book and spread the word about your book because I've already recommended it to clients.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So I've got questions written down here for myself and I've got a quote from your book that I wanted to talk about. And I didn't want to take up your whole day.
I understand. I appreciate that. I just realized I usually have like a copy of my book sitting next to me so I can like hold it up, but it's in my bedroom right now. So,
well, let's see. I know I put a copy in the little image of of today, but let me see if I can pull up the image so I can share that as well. Oh, I have this banner. I can share that. If folks want to follow that, I don't know if that's clickable because I'm using this thing for the first time. That leads directly or should lead directly to your book so they can see the copy. But in the meantime, where is my copy? I'm like scrolling through my apps to see where, of course I don't have it up. But yes, the name of the book is
The Monster Under the Bed. Yeah. And I've been working on this book for, I think the bulk of the time I've known you. I started working on it in 2014. And so it's been in the works for a really long time and came out at the end of March because I have excellent timing and can release a book mid-pandemic.
But it is perfectly timed though, because this is when people need it.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And it's funny because for years I kept saying, I feel like I'm going to miss the moment for this book. Like people are, because over the years people have started progressively talking more and more about depression. But every time it happened, I thought like it's happening for this moment and then it's going to go away and I'm going to miss this. But honestly, it's like we've been building towards this crescendo of everybody just being at home, being like, yes, I'm home and I feel awful.
Yeah. And that is, well, that was one of the questions I wanted to ask you. Are you noticing a change in depression or these different anxiety episodes because of COVID?
Yes, I feel like I had a conversation on Twitter yesterday about how my days alternate. I'll have a day where I like get a bunch of work done and clean up and am excited to take the dog out. And then I'll have days where I just don't want to move or think or talk. And I thought, a couple months ago, I'd say something like that online, and people who I'm used to talking to would chime in and be like, oh, yeah, I understand. No, this was like, it's been constant traffic for the last 24 hours of people being like, yes, I feel like that all the time. And half the time I can't function. And I feel like anybody who was kind of at all struggling before this, this has kind of dealt us a huge blow. But I think for people who weren't aware that they were struggling or weren't struggling, maybe, it's such a drastic shift, and it's such a sense of powerlessness that I think a lot of us are getting. It's a terrible way to say this, but like a little sample of what depression life is like.
Yeah. Well, and the conversation is also really important to talk about the connection with sex. And that's what your whole book is about. Tell me about how I in the foreword, you talk about how it sort of comes to fruition, right?
Yeah.
But talk us through it for those who don't know this story.
I have dealt with depression knowingly since my 20s, but my family and I have talked about it, and we've been like, this has maybe always been my brain. And I went through years of being depressed and not having any sexual interest. And somehow in that time period, I managed to get married. And I thought, well, this will all get better when my depression gets better. And in 2011, I had like a respite from the depression. Things felt good. I felt good. And I realized I felt good. I felt sexual. I felt all those things. I didn't feel them towards my husband. And because I didn't understand, because I just assumed depression and antidepressants and all that equals no sex, I missed that happening. I didn't see it. It didn't occur to me to question the relationship because obviously depression means you don't have or want sex. And again, none of this occurred to me for so long. A year after I left my marriage, I tried a new antidepressant and I lost my ability to orgasm. And that was when I first started writing about this and talking about this, because that was when it clicked for me that this might not have just been like the way it is. It's a piece of the puzzle, and I need to look at it, because in that period I wanted to engage sexually, but I couldn't. And so it was getting like a look at a different way it could manifest that made me question kind of the whole thing.
Yeah, a different way to manifest. You mean, well, and I thought it was interesting too in the book where you talk about, and I think this is also kind of where our books overlap too, right? Because there are things that we learn about sexuality when we're growing up, and how does that really fit with the messages around marriage and relationships, and you even said like this will get better when it's done, right?
Yeah. And I remember sitting in an apartment in Boston and thinking, I shouldn't get married. This whole sex piece is missing. And thinking in my head, if I say this to people, they will tell me that sex is not the most important thing, and there's so many more important things. And so I just pushed it under the rug, because I hadn't ever gotten the message that it was okay to prioritize sex. And so I felt bad even thinking about it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, those are some of those messages, to feel bad about wanting it, right? All the stuff. I mean, it's not just people who are socialized as women, right?
No, I grew up somewhere where in general, the approach to a lot of things, careers, sex, marriage, whatever, was, well, that's just what you get. And other people have that and they're fine with it. Or, none of us are really happy. And why do you want so much? Like, and
oh, ouch. Yeah.
And it was a lot of, the first place I noticed it was career stuff. But then as the years went on, I was like, oh, there's a lot of people just saying like, listen, I know you want to pursue this or think about life this way, but this is just how life is. You become an adult, you get a job, you get married, you have children, and, we've all done it. So here you go. Yeah.
So, talking about these scripts, right? You go to college, you meet your partner in college, you start a career, you move to the suburbs, you start having kids, right? Like there's all of these things that tell us that this is how your life is supposed to go.
Yeah.
There's a concept you talk about in the book, and I wrote it down so I would not screw it up. I want you to tell me a little bit more about this trope or this script. You have to love yourself before you can love someone else.
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah. Tell me about that.
I think we've all heard that in some context.
Probably shared it on Instagram as well.
Yeah. And to me, it's really damaging and disempowering because, yes, it would be great if we could all love ourselves. But this idea that, like, there will be no love, no happiness, no anything for us until we master that art of self-love it's so overwhelming. I remember being young and thinking, well, how can I convince people I love myself? Because I don't, and I don't know how to change that. And
does that make me unworthy of love?
To experience love. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's more important that we, instead of thinking love ourselves, we need to, I don't know, allow ourselves to be where we are when we're there and take that kind of care of ourselves.
Yeah.
And understand that our relationships with ourselves, like our relationships with literally anyone, are complicated and they ebb and flow. And you're really into that person one day and not so into them the next. And it's okay if the person in that description is you.
Yeah. Ooh, yeah. That's insightful. Like, well, it also goes with, as people age, the erection, for example, people with a penis. I'm totally getting smoked out by my incense.
I was wondering.
There's a fire in the house. No. But the ebb and flow that happens naturally, right?
Yeah.
We have a natural ebb and flow. I'm really gonna have to move this. This is really annoying. With, while you're being sexual with your partner, if you have a penis and it, you lose your erection and then it comes back and then you lose it and it comes back, right? Like normalizing that. It sounds like sex and depression. It sounds like just depression in general also has to be normalized. I encourage people to get the help they need in whatever form that is, right?
It is. Yeah.
Yeah. Because in your book, you talk a little about medication and yeah.
It's a question I've gotten hit with a lot, like, because I've done conferences and I've been talking about this topic for years. A lot of times somebody will chime in and be like, but why do you talk so much about medication? There are natural ways. And like, whatever way
whatever
works for you, I'm there for. But if we're talking about sex and depression, we have to talk about medications because they play so big in that sexual side effects.
I just got chills on that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
They're going to impact your, like you mentioned, your own experience, inability to orgasm.
Yeah. And, and there's a range of things that can happen. It can be, erectile dysfunction, loss of lubrication. There's this one that I always think is kind of funny because it's genital numbness, where it's just like sensations aren't registering the same. And for some people on some drugs, there's an increase in sexual interest.
Mm-hmm.
And
everyone's body chemistry is going to be different. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Never talk about that.
Yeah. When I did my research, a quarter of the people I interviewed reported more sex when they were coping with depression. Some of them untreated, some of them treated. And so the reasons would vary, but going into the project, I was not at all prepared to talk to people who had more sex when they were depressed.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Tell me about that. Was it just sort of the script that you had in your head of what was supposed to be?
In fact, I used myself as an example a lot. Because I like to go big and do like unpleasant things all at once. I got divorced the year my dad died. Oh. So a lot was happening, and
Yeah.
I came tearing out of my marriage like a bat out of hell, and was just having all the sex and working all the time, and just moving and moving and moving. And so I always thought, wow, I made it through that without a depressive episode. And looking back, no, I had a depressive episode. I just kind of acted it out differently.
Yeah.
In my head, depression was me laying on the couch, watching tons of television, not wanting to go anywhere.
Yeah.
So I wasn't prepared for the depression that looked like me burying myself in work, having sex with a lot of random people, and drinking too much. But it was a way depression showed up.
Yeah. That is actually a really interesting description of a pretty accurate description of a segment of my life as well after the divorce.
Yeah.
Real talk here. That was, it's interesting. I want to pull up this quote that from your book, and it's in part 1, and it's a quote from one of the people that you surveyed. And he said, "Being brought up as male, I had less tools to openly discuss anger, sadness, and frustration. I learned at an early age not to burden anyone by isolating myself, which usually causes the furthering of depression symptoms."
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, that's another place where I feel like our work fits together. Because that's,
that quote touched me a lot too, because it was interesting, because the subject linked it to being male, and I understand why. But the idea that you don't burden anybody, so you keep it all inside, is huge in my life, and has fed my depression so much. And so I think, by and large, we have this women are allowed to talk about feelings, men are not thing. But culturally, depending on ethnic upbringings, religious upbringings, all these different things lead people to hide it all inside. And as I once said in my family, I once sent an email to my family where there was anger and whatever. And I remember saying to them, "You don't confront my brother about things because you're afraid he'll get mad. You do confront me about everything because I don't get mad.
Oh, yeah.
But what I do is I shove it all inside. So you don't get yelled at, but my health deteriorates."
Oh, yeah.
And that was a hard one for people to get.
Probably a hard one to hear and know that they were having an impact on you.
Yeah. And it's because it's not a thing we think about. We think, people will let us know, or we'll be able to sense but no.
No, we don't really get very good education on reading that, we all can sense those micro expressions, the changes, slight changes, but we don't always, acknowledge that it could be us having that impact on them.
And we're also at this very interesting moment where for a couple of years we've been saying, ask for what you need. It's important to ask for what you need. And I think that's great. And it's prepped people to both ask for what they need and hear people asking for what they need. But an unfortunate side effect has been, like, I always say, if people don't get like a submitted written request for what I need, there's no impetus to show up and to help. So sometimes the people around us are asking for what they need as loud as they can, and that's not very loud. One of the first things I ever wrote about this, I talked about depression feeling like you're out in the water and you're trying to signal for help, but you can only do it a little because that's all you have in you. And everybody thinks you're waving, but actually you're drowning. But they're all just like, "Hey, what's up?"
Hi.
And I think that's kind of a place we've gotten stuck on, the like asking for what you need thing. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I can see. I mean, that's a very what's the word I'm looking for? Tangible example of drowning. Really, really interesting. I noticed somebody said that the link is not clickable. So let me see if I can put it in the chat for your book so they can get the book copy. So if you're tuning in now, I'm posting in the comments the link to JoEllen's book. There it is. That should be the right one. Let me make sure. So JoEllen Notte, excellent last name for dealing with sex.
Yeah. And I am embarrassed to say that didn't occur to me when I started talking about sex. It was like a year later when somebody was like, really, that's your name and you talk about sex. I was like, oh yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Okay, so I'm going to do another one because it doesn't seem like I just get the main page.
Oh.
That's not cool. Try this again. Okay, so a few other questions while I'm pulling this up. And we were kind of chatting about this one offline. What do you wish your parents told you or said to you about either sex? Actually, no, do both. Sex and depression.
It's funny because a thought I had preparing for this was that if people read your book, less people would grow up to need my book.
Aww.
Yeah.
Aww. Wow.
Because, like I said, I was not taught it was okay to prioritize sex. I was not taught that my sexual function was my own. I got a lot of like, you are not allowed to have sex messaging growing up. And it left me in this really weird place. I remember being in my 20s and like hanging around with guys and just waiting and hoping and, thinking they will make this move. And then years later, figuring out that like, it wasn't, because my 20-year-old self was like, well, they're not making this move. Thus, I don't get to have sex. Thus, I'm not sexually appealing and nobody will ever love me. And I realized years later, no, they were just as lost as I was. And we were both standing there being like, is somebody going to do something? No, nobody's going to. Okay. But this was not presented as an option to me. For me, it was you either, don't have sex until you're in that like good committed relationship, or you're a slut and you're doing something wrong and all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. It's the expecting and also being socialized as female. It's this expecting you have to be the gatekeeper, right? And you have to like respond to the request. You don't necessarily lead with your sexuality or lead with what you want or desire, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then I think one of the other questions, these are more just fun questions. You've been working in the field of sexuality now, again, with the breeze coming. Okay. So yeah, I meditated before this. So I had this still burning and it's almost done, but it's really, I need to have somebody come in and close the windows or something. You've been working in sexuality now for a while. At least what, 2011 or 2012?
2012.
2012. Yeah. Okay. And I know you've had some amazing experiences traveling around with sponsors and such. Yeah. Do you have a favorite toy or device that you recommend for folks?
So, nothing is ever going to be one size fits all, but I think one of the things that gives the best results in my experience to the widest variety of people is like a giant wand style massager, right? So your Hitachi LaWand is my favorite right now. Doxy, because they're big and they're powerful. And so especially for people dealing with any kind of sexual side effect, that can be really helpful. But also a lot of them allow for attachments. So if G-spot is more your thing or whatever, you can modify to find what it is you're looking for. And a lot of folks don't think that's a product that will do anything if you have a penis. And you're wrong. My crazy dating, starting to be a sex writer spree left behind a whole bunch of guys who now own Hitachis because they dated me. And yeah. But between attachments and just exploring, one guy I dated got really obsessed with the Hitachi on the perineum because because so many sensations. And so, I think if anybody's out there going to like invest in one thing, get a big old wand.
Yeah. And the one hack I heard was if you have the plug-in kind, you can plug it into an outlet that has a dimmer switch.
Yes. This is what I have heard. Yeah.
I haven't tried it because actually I don't even know if I have one that's working in the house right now.
It's part of why in the last couple of years, Doxy and Lawand have become bigger things for me because they have that kind of built in, that like wide range of varieties.
Yeah.
God love the Hitachi, but it didn't allow for much variation. Yeah.
It's kind of like on and off, but
exactly. Yeah.
So also, let's see. So the Lawand, Doxy, Hitachi, those are all really good, and they not only stimulate you sexually, like it can be a good massager just on tight muscles. So don't feel guilty.
Yes, I was using one on my QL the other day. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah,
all right.
They massage.
And then one more question in terms of like Mythbusters, like what's one misconception you learned about sex that you found out later wasn't true?
Oh, there are so many. But a big one, and I think it's one that I see come up over and over again with people, is that if you need lube, something is wrong. And, our bodies vary day to day, and all sorts of medications can affect things. I know if I am in a room with air conditioning and I don't have lube, like nobody's having fun. Lube is just like this amazing asset that so many people ignore because they've associated it with like being old and dried out and whatever.
Yeah.
But really, I think people would be having a lot more enjoyable sex if everybody kept lube on hand.
So I think you were the first person to create this pervertible.
Which one?
Which one? Yeah, exactly. It was
Which one?
the touchless soap dispenser.
So that I can't take credit for that. That was Kate Kenfield was who I learned that one from. But yes.
You were the first person I heard it from. Okay. So I get a shout out for that one.
And it's been nice because as the years have gone on, I first did it with like a really cheap dispenser that ended up getting clogged and didn't work great. But now companies are creating these. I have one in my bedroom that warms up the lube and dispenses it onto my hand. Yeah.
Okay. Do you have is there a brand of that I should?
That is literally called.
Share down.
It's called Warm. And I think they're, no, wait, it's called Touch. Their other product is called Warm. If you go to Twitter, their handle is Experience Warm.
Okay.
And they make a toy warming sleeve and the lube dispenser. Yeah.
Okay. I've actually been looking for one of the, like a, to warm up a baby bottle.
Yeah.
Like to put my different oils, massage oils.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if I should look them up for that. See, maybe they have that too.
I wouldn't put it past them. They like making things warmer. It's what they do.
Okay. So I just wanted to take a little bit of your time today and talk about your book and make sure that people know about your book so that they can get it and they can share it with their families, buy one for themselves, buy one for a family member that is depressed. I mean, I think we all know somebody who is or has been depressed. And I mean, especially now with COVID too, it's, things are very different. And if you get this book, you can definitely learn a lot of really wonderful things. And I still need to post my review of it up on Amazon for you. So I'm going to go do that.
The interesting thing, the piece of feedback I've been getting about the book is that, it's titled as a book that's about sex and depression, but people are finding a lot of use in just the non-sex related coping with depression when someone you love has it
Yeah.
piece. I
Yeah.
keep joking my next book will be like multiple monsters under all of your furniture. But I think that's I think people were kind of hungry for a like, we don't know how to deal with this. How do we deal with this conversation?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So where can people find you? Where should they look for
Okay.
you on the internet?
You can find me at my website, redheadbedhead.com. And I realized I actually have like a easy link for all my book stuff, which is redheadbedhead.com/monster.
Easy. Okay.
On social media, I am just my name, JoEllen Notte, on all of the social medias. And I think those are all the places you can find me these days.
redheadbedhead.com/monster, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that'll
Copy
show you
that.
all the different places it's available, the different formats, because we did audiobook and ebook and the paperback. Oh, actually, no.
Without the? Okay, let me
Yeah.
redo that.
I own the URL with the, but I don't know if it'll work if you use it.
Okay, Redhead Bedhead. There we go. Show.
That's it. That's me.
And let me drop it into the comments. And yeah, get to play with this new tool. It's actually not so bad. Okay, now it's in the. It should be going to the comments now. There it is. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, JoEllen. It was so nice to see you.
It's good to see you and talk to you. Yeah.
So, everyone, tune in to. Oh, an error occurred. What's going on there? Okay. Look for JoEllen on the internet. Go read her stuff. She's got a great voice. Yeah, I love going back to your blogs from 2012 because they're funny and they're really great to read, entertaining. So, okay.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you for coming. And be well. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye. Okay, everybody. Hope you enjoyed that. Please drop a comment or send me a direct message if you have any questions about or for our next guest, who is Gigi Engel. She wrote All the Fucking Mistakes, and that's a new release on Amazon as well. So thanks for tuning in.